Shani in the back with an episode of Shani's Lab. So while I'm on my way to work, I'm going to review American Horror Story 1984, uh, the second episode. So you have the detective, and she's going to Camp Redwood so she can try to find Margaret Booth so she can either warn her or get her to shut down the camp because Mr. Jingles have escaped. And she like, bitch, he on his way. And so she gets there and she finds Margaret, and Margaret pops out of nowhere looking all creepy, talking about you sleeping in my cabin. And she's like, no, I'm just here to tell you, you have to close down. And Margaret is like, I would do no such thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, something's fucking wrong with Margaret. So anyway, I'm not gonna go in any particular order with this review or recap. I just wanted to let you know like what happened in the episode or whatever. So we find out more about Brooke's backstory. We find out that she was engaged a year ago. And the night before her wedding, she didn't want to see her husband, but she doesn't like to be alone that night. So she had one of his friends over. And her husband, they were both virgins, Christian virgins. They're supposed to be saving themselves or whatever. And he assumed that she cheated on him. So he shot like everybody at the wedding, like all the brides and groomsmen, and then he killed himself. So like that was some shit. So last episode when we saw her looking at the ring and being real sad over, it, that's what happened. I was like, oh shit. We find out more about Xavier. Remember when he got that weird call last episode, and the guy was like, "You can't just take your dick and run." So apparently, I guess it's supposed to be long. I don't know, but so we find out that Xavier is down doing like gay porn for this guy that saved him. So apparently, this guy saved him from like he was on drugs and I guess lived on the streets or whatever. And the guy found him, took him in, cleaned him up. But then he had started doing porn and shit for him. So that's kind of messed up. So we found out what that call was all about. And then he comes to the camp. Why? I don't know. What else happens in this episode? Um, Brooke, well, Montana tried to kiss Brooke on some awkward shit after she was telling her about, what happened with her ex fiance. Montana tried to get on lovey dovey with her, and Brooke was like, "Bitch, I'm not a lesbian." I kind of figured Montana was bisexual though because of the way from the beginning when she met Brooke, you could tell she was attracted to her, in some way. Nurse Rita was attacked by Mr. Jingles. I don't understand why. Um, and then Mr. Jingles killed the investigator that was looking for him. What else happened? Uh, oh, so the Night Stalker um, comes and he kills, that guy that remember the guy that they ran over. So the guy that they ran over, we find out that he's actually a ghost. Um, and he remembers, the whole 1970 massacre, and he actually did escape, but he um he got ran over by a car, so he ended up dying anyway. So that's why he was out there on the road when they were first coming in because his ghost just keeps repeating that same, loop. And because they brought him to the camp now, he's like all confused and telling people they're not supposed to be there. That's why he kept saying that because he still thinks it's 1970. He didn't even know he was dead. So the Night Stalker comes back, tries to attack Brooke, fails, and then he goes into Margaret's cabin and they're talking and getting all coy. And Margaret is like, "If you doing the Lord's work, then it's not wrong." And I'm like, I knew Margaret's ass was crazy. But so basically, her and the Night Stalker are going to team up because Margaret wants to get him to kill, Mr. Jingles. Um, so I'm like, okay, Margaret, just use the Night Stalker to kill Mr. Jingles. And you could tell that they had like a little spark there, and I'm just like, that's weird. And I'm like, is Margaret a killer or not? Because we did see Mr. Jingles, he did cut off the investigator's ear, so obviously he does do the cut off everything. But I'm not sure if Margaret is gonna be a copycat. Like something is off about Margaret, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. So anyway, Nurse Rita is attacked by Jingles. The guy that came to try to kidnap Xavier, he got killed by Jingles right outside the showers. Um, and then all the counselors and Rita, they was like, let's get the fuck out of here. So they tried to get the fuck out of here. All this wild shit happened. They kept crashing. And then they run to the cabin because they all need to get keys. So they split up into two groups. And then, of course, the episode left on a bitch ass cliffhanger with the two groups in different cabins with somebody begging on the door trying to get in. We don't know if it's Mr. Jingles or not. But yeah. So I would say this episode was actually really good. I was at work when it came on, so well, actually no, I get off at 10. So as soon as I got off, it came on. So I was in the locker room just watching it until until a commercial came. I'm like, oh, I'm watching my show. But this episode was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It kept me on my feet. We learned more about the characters and what more about their backstories. I wish we can get to know more about Montana. There's still a lot more we need to know about Ray, Nurse Rita, Margaret. And another thing interesting about Margaret is the ghost the ghost guy. He was looking. Margaret had found him, but she didn't know he was there. And she was like asking him questions, and that's how she figured out that he was a ghost. And Margaret, and he was like, "I remember you," and she was like, "You look different. I mean, you look different." And she was like, "But you still look the same." And then we saw a flashback through his view, and Margaret was standing up. Remember how she kept saying that the messaging was stabbing her, or whatever. And I'm just like, in the flashback, Margaret she was standing up. So I'm like, that was kind of weird. So I kind of feel like we're not really done with the 1970 massacre. I felt like there's more to the story because it possibly could very well be that Mr. Jingles did could do the massacre, but it could be that he didn't kill that many people. It could have been Margaret who kind of use because you can tell she doesn't like people who drink and do drugs and alcohol. That was a double negative. Who drink and do alcohol, but anyway, she doesn't like that kind of stuff. So she's really churchy and uptight. So I mean, I guess we'll see what comes. But this episode was definitely interesting. I still can't believe Brooke's husband shot up the wedding night. Like, who shoots up their own wedding? That was giving me definitely Kill Bill vibes. When Nurse Rita got checked out Mr. Jingles, I was about to smack somebody. I'm like, listen, if Nurse Rita or um, Ray died before episode 6, I quit. Fuck out of here. Because first of all, you're not even used to seeing like this is based off 1980 slasher film, and there's barely if even any black people in those movies, and usually they die first. So I'm like, we better not kill off Ray or Nurse Rita. We gotta have our black people on there. But yeah, this episode was really good. It's interesting to see if Xavier will come clean to his friends about, the porn he was doing. Because you got to remember, this is the 80s, so, there's not, no internet. There's no, you can't just Google someone's porn. You can't go on Twitter or, this www dot this porn site, so this is when VHS is still a thing. So I guess you could be a porn star in that time. And, unless people were into collecting videotapes, then you wouldn't really know who porn stars were. So it's interesting to see if he'll come out to them. It's interesting to see if Brooke will, get over that whole massacre thing. Um, and I really want to know more about Nurse Rita and Ray and Montana. Those are the only people who we haven't really gotten a good backstory on yet. But like I said, this episode was actually pretty interesting. It was kind of straight to the point, picking up off last episode. So Mr. Jean was killed. The probably the investigator who was coming to look for him and warn Margaret. Margaret teamed up with the Night Stalker on some creepy shit. We find out Xavier does porn. Um, and yeah, so this episode was really good. Can't wait for the next one, of course. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Margaret is a copycat killer, or that she just really, really wanted to open that camp so that she can get Mr. Jingles back, and so she can finally kill him? Like, who knows? I feel like they are making Margaret's character out to be that way so that our suspicions stay on her, when really Margaret could just be an anti-hero or something. Like, I don't know. What did you guys think? But anyway, this episode, I did enjoy the episode.